the sky. Red mountains in the distance lie, calling me back. Arizona moon. Green cactus on an open plain, blue turquoise on a silver chain, calling me back. Arizona moon. The desert skies at night are something to behold, where Indians still keep a watch for their gold. White crosses where the settlers died, cold canyons where the saints reside, calling me back. Arizona moon. Skies at night are something to behold, where Indians still keep a watch for their gold. White horses in the purple sky, red mountains in the distance lie, calling me back. Arizona moon. White crosses where the settlers died, cold canyons where the angels ride, calling me back. Arizona moon. Calling me back. Arizona moon.
Just to blow it off for one brief moment. I think I slipped, but just a little, don't react so crazy. I want you to listen. One breath, so quick a moment leaves me racked with self-hate. I backed right out the second time I had a chance, not too late. Can you calm down for long enough to let me just explain it? I challenge you to listen, yeah. I'm a human too. Why can't you just forgive me? I forgave you. Your short circuit memory. I still love you. I
Blow that whistle. It's just after 5. Is it? No. 4 o'clock. I'm thinking it's 3 hours ahead on the East Coast, right? I'm still back in, October time? I'm thinking it's 5. It's 5. Well, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Welcome. Coffee and a chat with Sleepy Dave or whatever you want to, beverage of your choice. Today, it's Barks Root Beer. Gotta love the only root beer with caffeine. So I'd like to say hello to Kimmy and Jim and anybody else who may wander into the cafe today. I have not been on the air in quite a while. Work has me on all these crazy hours, which to me, to the normal person would be normal working hours, 9 to 5, 8:30 to 4:30, those type of things. For lots of years, I worked the second shift in midnights. So, but I digress. Today, I was thinking to talk about martial law. Actually, more specifically, go over a book I have called Treason, the New World Order by Guru Das. Chock full of information, there's over 337 footnotes and facts and quotes from historical sources. And in this particular chapter, talks about our hidden past and how martial law was used in the United States 30 times between 1789 and 1975. Welcome, JoJo. Do a little impromptu show, if that's how you say the word. You have to forgive me. It's funny. They got to be spraying. The chemtrails here over the skies of Arizona today are rife and thick. I'm going to say it. It's true. Now, anybody who knows and is connected to me on any social media, Facebook, would know that sometimes I post photos of these things. And it's not a new phenomenon, so I don't know why people still like to debate. I'm pretty much past that, so people can feel free to believe what they want that they are. I don't like to cause controversy because I like stories. I personally, I think, it's not good. I mean, there are fake chemtrail clouds. You can rightly see them. They block out the sun fairly well. So it is happening. So it's like, there's the elephant in the room. No, there's not. Next. So back to the martial law deal. I kind of went off on a tangent. But here we go. So, Guru Das, let me tell you a little bit about the author. His real name was Ron Garman. Now, Ron Garman, he wrote a lot of holistic herbal books, like holistic healing, holistic medicine books in the 80s. And so this book, Treason, the New World Order, was quite the, I would say, total 180 from what he was writing. And you'll see, if you open up the book, and it does tell his other books. I'll give you some other titles if you want to look them up. Actually, they're very well. Flower Essences and Vibrational Healing, Gem Elixirs and Vibrational Healings, Volumes 1 and 2, and The Spiritual Properties of Herbs. I'll say all those titles again for those of you who want to run and get a pen. But I don't know if they're in print. You'd probably have to go to somewhere like on 8 books to find them. So here are the titles again. In his interviews with Jeff Rentz before he died, he goes into a little bit of that part of how he got into gems and gem elixirs and vibrational healings and using herbs and just natural stuff that you find out in the wild. So that's Flower Essences and Vibrational Healing, Gem Elixirs and Vibrational Healing, Volumes 1 and 2, and the Spiritual Properties of Herbs. So then he goes along, and here comes along 1996, and he writes, Treason, the New World Order. Nothing to do with herbs and vibrational healing, but facts. He is a well-read researcher, and I highly recommend the book. If you can still get a copy of it, eBay or whatever. I know back in 96 when he was 97, somewhere around there, when he was doing interviews with Jeff Rentz, he had only sold about 5,000 copies. But the information is really pertinent. So it's kind of heavy. No, I'm going to say it is heavy because it hits you really hard, and we don't hear much about martial law back then or how it was instituted, right? So we'll go at this. There's a quote by Cicero. It's rather interesting. He says, "A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and he carries his banners openly, but the traitor moves among those within the gates freely." Yeah. See, martial law was declared in the United States 30 times, as I said, between 1789 and 1975. When I scanned, he goes on to say, when I scanned hundreds of history books, there was barely a mention of this as a fact. It's as if the slate had been wiped clean. Although when one checks computer online services, it is possible to find some articles and books on the subject, as suggested by the notes. In the law journals, there are also articles on martial law in the U.S. Also, this discussion has decreased in recent years. Historically, there has been some confusion about the meaning of the term martial law. Martial law is not military rule, which is the rule of a victorious army in an occupied country. Martial law is the use of military forces to control areas where civilian authorities have lost partial or full control, and there is suppression of some civil agencies. Nationally, only the president should declare martial law. While most authorities agree that governors may declare martial law within their states, our Constitution limits broad use of emergency powers or the suspension of constitutional protections even in emergencies. Usually, only part of the state, such as a city, is placed under martial law. There have been times when troops were used to aid civilian authorities without martial law being declared. This was done partly for political reasons, such as during the 1967 Detroit riots. Martial law also has been declared after natural disasters, such as the Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, in June 1972 after a flood following Hurricane Agnes. During the War of 1812, Andrew Jackson declared martial law in New Orleans on December 18, 1814. After the British were defeated, martial law remained in effect despite the growing anger of local citizens until March 13, 1815, when the war ended. In 1842, martial law was declared in Rhode Island during the Doors Rebellion. No, not the Doors of, Jim Morrison and Light My Fire. It's D-O-R-R-S, Doors Rebellion. There was a popular movement involving a People's Convention in 1841, which elected Thomas Dorr as governor. The incumbent governor called this an insurrection, imposed martial law, and called out the militia. There was broad repression of dissent during the Civil War. Lincoln withdrew the use of the mail for various newspapers that criticized the war. Does this sound familiar? What's going on? In the 1860s, this meant that a newspaper couldn't survive. Prominent newspapers like the Journal of Commerce and the Daily News in New York were suppressed with U.S. Marshals ordered to seize certain newspapers. Most newspapers reversed their policies and stopped criticizing the war or supported it. Lincoln also suspended the writ of habeas corpus without congressional approval. On April 27, 1861, Lincoln called on the commanding general of the Army to suspend the writ of habeas corpus on the rail corridor between Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Later, this was extended to the rail corridor between Philadelphia and Maine, all of Kentucky, Maryland, and St. Louis. Military authorities usually refused to free people who had been arrested when shown a writ of habeas corpus stating that no civilian court had authority over prisoners of war. When Congress asked for information about the arrests, Lincoln said it was not in the public interest to furnish the information. Constitutional safeguards to protect individual liberties were ignored. So, nothing new. Lincoln did it too. That's the new slogan. Nothing new. Lincoln did it too. Come on down. No. Sorry, but yeah. I had to take a little breather. That's some heavy stuff. Wow, right? I haven't read this in a while, so to go back over it again with you guys is kind of a treat. You know, snuggled in. Maybe you're at work or driving around. Maybe in your bed. I don't know where you are, but hope you're having a nice time. Christmas, 3 days coming up. It's the 21st century, 2021. Anyways, back to subject at hand. Lincoln also sent troops into war without a congressional declaration of war, saying it was a domestic insurrection, so no congressional authority was necessary. While Lincoln saved the Union, the general public and many historians have largely forgotten or have forgiven his repressive measures. A more balanced approach to his presidency would bring more criticism of his emergency actions that were often not necessary or legal under the Constitution. So speaking of drinks, let me wet my whistle. Today's drink is, like I said, Barks Root Beer from Carl's Jr. You ever see that guy on YouTube who dresses up in a nice like suit and tie and a jacket, combs his hair out, he's all slick, he's a young cat, and he does fast food reviews. I forget what the guy's name is, but he's pretty good. Anyway, back to the info, back to the story. In Ex parte Milligan, 1866, the Supreme Court held that in the absence of actual invasion, martial law and the military trial of civilians was illegal while civil processes were unobstructed in the courts in session. The Constitution of the U.S. is a law for rulers and people equally in war and in peace, and covers with the shield of its protection all classes of men at all times and under all circumstances. Martial law cannot arise from a threatened invasion. The necessity must be actual and present. The invasion real, such as effectually closes the courts and disposes the civil administration. However, the Supreme Court did not question the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus during the war or the arrest of civilians without charge. And what did they write 20 years ago? The Patriot Act. 1 and 2? I loved how, like, us researchers back then, we'd be reading this stuff, and we would tell people what it said, and they'd say, conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory. And I'm like, no, it's in the document. If they suspect you're a domestic terrorist, they can hold you without trial, without, this come, hello, hi, That's some scary shit. Just because they haven't implemented it yet, it's still there. I mean, Alex Jones went through it 20 years ago. Just about what, not okay. We're not at quite 20 years. We're rounding up a little bit. But 19. And that was a devastating document when I read that. I mean, forget martial law. Just all they... I should revisit. We should do a program on that. The Patriot Acts 1 and 2. I don't know if anybody. Maybe somebody's covered it lately. I don't know, but I'd have to look up that information. I don't have that information anymore. Not on me. Anyways, that's pretty interesting. So, but here, similar activities, were executed also in the South. Jefferson Davis never declared martial law or suspended the writ of habeas corpus without his legislature's consent. Davis was less assertive of executive authority than Lincoln, and when he did exercise his power, it was less obviously political and the order was less sweeping. Davis declared martial law in Norfolk and Portsmouth, Virginia on February 27, 1862. 3 days later, this was expanded to Richmond. Later, martial law was declared by Davis or local military commanders in other parts of Virginia, East Tennessee, Memphis, Mobile, New Orleans, Atlanta, Salisbury, North Carolina, all of Texas and Arkansas. See, I was thinking about testing when I said Arkansas. She hates it. And parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. Right, free rides to Gitmo. Yeah, that's right. The Gitmo boat instead of the Love boat. Come aboard, we're gonna shackle you. It's Love boat. Oh, sorry. All right, don't want to hear that. On September 24th, though, in 1862, Lincoln declared martial law and suspended the writ of habeas corpus throughout the nation. While the exact geographical territory of this proclamation was not outlined, the categories of offenses were vague enough. And it actually has a copy here of his, by the President of the United States. So let me read it. It's very interesting. Let's actually has the document here. Oh, I love it when we're provided with actual documents. And not some, oh, where'd you get that from? Oh, you heard it on that station. What do they know? Well, here it is, kids, right here. December 1st, 1865, number 51, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation, page 734, whereas by the proclamation of the President of the United States of the 15th day of September, 1863, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus was, in certain cases therein set forth, suspended throughout the United States. And whereas the reasons for that suspension may be regarded as having ceased in some of the states and territories. Now, therefore, be it known that I, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, do hereby proclaim and declare that the suspension aforesaid and all other proclamations and orders suspending the privilege of writ of habeas corpus in the United States and territories of the United States are revoked and annulled, excepting as to the states of Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and the states that I just outlined. He echoes those. And in addition, though, to Texas and Arkansas, he puts in the District of Columbia and the territories of New Mexico and Arizona. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the United States to be affixed. Done at the city of Washington this first day of December in the year of our Lord 1865, in the independence of the United States of America, the 90th, Andrew Johnson. So that's a good, not too many people actually go and look at a particular wording, but to get it, why not? It's here in front of me. Charles Fairman said that in his book, The Law of Martial Law, while there is a close relation between martial law and the writ of habeas corpus, there are also important differences. Professor Joe Parker of Harvard Law School said the existence of martial law and suspension of habeas corpus to be one and the same thing. Moving on, because it goes into martial law and the emergency rule of today. Wow, we've already been on here almost 30 minutes. Whew. All right, moving on. The essence of government is power, and power, lodged as it must be in human hands, will never be liable to abuse. James Madison said that. Government is not reason, it is not eloquence, it is force. Like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. George Washington. So, I want to get to the good stuff because I underlined some examples. All right, here we go. Kind of moving up within the last 40 years here. It says, in 1979, William R. Pabst released a detailed report with the locations of various prison camps in the United States already established for civilians. Reagan reportedly signed a national security directive activating 11 large prison camps. The United States Army Field Manual FM 41-10, titled Civil Affairs Operations, dated January 1993, discusses methods for rounding up civilians and place them in detention centers. Included are FEMA chain of command information and diagrams of detention centers. Other U.S. Army documents state that it has plans for regulation of civilian inmate labor utilization and for preparing requests to establish civilian prison camps on Army installations. In 1994, C. Dean Rhodey of the U.S. Army in Training and Doctrine Command in Fort Monroe, Virginia, sent a memo about a draft Army regulation on civilian inmate program stating, quote, the new regulation will provide the following. A. Policy for civilian inmate utilization on installations. B. Procedures for preparing requests to establish civilian inmate labor programs on installations. And C. Procedures for preparing requests to establish civilian prison camps on installations. Unquote. When the researcher, Dennis Cuddy, called to confirm this memo, he was told that the memo was leaked and was premature because it was a draft regulation that had not been finalized. The U.S. Army War College report, The Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflict Short of War, states that the role of the military was changing from a national defense to suppression and control of population in the U.S. and under the United Nations. Let's take a pause for a minute and think about some things. And let's think about, I'm not going to say anything that going to cause, everything has become so centered. Are you more free now in 2020 than you were in 2010 or 2000 or 1995 or 1990 if you were around that long? Think about it. Do you think the racial division, do you think there's more racial unity now in 2020 than there was in 1990? I tell you this much, when I was growing up as a teenager, there was not, I got to tell you, there was not, the racial differences really didn't exist. So when we'd see about it on TV, it'd be like, not in my school. I'm not saying there weren't the problems there, but it just, it was more magnified, Lies upon lies. I mean, school shootings, cops murdering people. I don't want to say that because, some cops have been brought up on charges, I would suppose. I don't know of any cases offhand, but let's just say my generation had these troubles as well. It's nothing new. A classmate of mine was shot in the head by a cop. Caused a whole controversy at the school. Had these guys come along in a blue van, all painted up, stop police brutality, got the students in a frenzy, everybody's out there marching. What are they marching for? We don't know! We're just pissed off that, nobody... Look up to Jeffrey Dawes. That's his name. Jeffrey Dawes. D-A-W-E-S. If you type in on a Google search, Jeffrey Dawes, Phoenix New Times, it was like February or January of 1990 or 90. And you read the story about this kid. Now, he was a classmate of mine. He was in my wood shop. And I'll just say it this. The story of what the cop said versus what his buddy said didn't match up. I have to say allegedly now. I mean, it's been 30 years? Yeah, it's been 30 years technically. So, but I did read the article recently on it. So, I didn't mean to go off on that little thing, but what I'm saying is there's always incidents used to provoke the youth into steering them into a direction you want them to go. And right now society is being steered into that way. Or should I be scared? They're being scared into that way, into that direction. I'm scared. So, moving right along, it says, let me think here. Oh, during World War I, governors from 4 western states asked the federal government, remember this, to imprison members of the industrial workers of the world until the war was over. In 1939, the Hobbs concentration camp bill passed the House by a large majority, calling for the detention of aliens. Over 110,000 Japanese Americans were abruptly arrested and sent to concentration camps in harsh regions during World War II. None of these people had ever committed even one act against the United States authorities. Against the U.S. Authorities were able to move fast because lists had been prepared in advance. The 1950 Internal Security Act had provisions to establish prison camps for subversives. Senator Paul Douglas helped draft this law without realizing he was on an FBI list to be arrested as a threat to national security. In 1968, the House Un-American Activities Committee advocated detention centers during the civil rights disturbances. It called for sealing ghettos, restricting entry, curfews, and the suspension of civil rights during a guerrilla uprising. The full report reads like a Gestapo tirade. threatening or actually putting political dissidents into concentration camps is a well-established tradition in America recognized by many people unless you are a politician or in the establishment press. To board a plane, a photo ID is required. If we one day wake up and discover that some excuse has been used to suspend the Constitution and establish martial law, would most of Congress, in the name of national security, not say a word? Would Congress be too busy taking money from special interests to enrich themselves to get reelected? What does it take for Congress to recognize and question treason and sedition when it takes place? Part of the problem is that many in Congress are closely allied with the corporate elite, and I would say with some countries. I'm going to take a break on that for a subject. I figure we'd talk about it for a while. I don't know how long. I don't know how long I'm going to go today. Figures what else we can drum up in the box of madness that has transpired over this last 10 months. I had a meme that I saved. I found it was at the beginning of the year. And let me find it. It was very appropriate. See, I just had it and I lost it. I can read it to you. Let's see. Day 3. This is January 3rd, 2020. World War III is trending. The plague is a thing again. Australia is an inferno. Climate change is still a looming threat. And I'm out of Christmas cookies. Oh, boy. So, I don't know. See, I have to be careful. We have to be careful now. It's amazing. This is one of the reasons. It's like, should I go back on the air and just talk? Because I don't want to have to. I made fun of, sort of, I guess. I'm not going to say his name, but some call him the new president-elect guy. I don't. He's not my president, but either way, that dude. And I had my name for the last 16 years. So I don't know where this guy comes off using the word sleepy. So, kind of hard to change my name. I think he should change his to like Gropey or Dopey. Sneezy, Wheezy. I don't know. Commie. Comrade. I don't know. So I want to play some rock and roll, but I'll probably get a strike from YouTube knowing them, so can't do it. But I will do something. Maybe I want to play a tune because I want to refill my sody pop and give everybody a chance to do what they need to do. And feel free to throw in the chat room if you got a subject you want to discuss, anything weird happen, anything paranormal. Actually, the 21st, yesterday, was the 3-year anniversary of when I first saw a plane fly in the air and just stop in midair. It stopped. And I'll come back with that story in detail after this tune by a guy named Rod Higdon. And oh my gosh, see, I'll tell you a story about that guy, what he was told supposedly, allegedly, by Dick Clark. I can't confirm, but this is what he told us. Basically, it's true, you do got to sell your soul, man. Anyway, enjoy the song. This is why it's not a country hit today, because he didn't want to sell his soul for fame and fortune, for champagne dreams and caviar wishes.
There's a little girl down in Alabama, and I'm gonna see her any way that I can. She has got the love this Alabama man needs. Alabama girl, you're about to bring me to my knees. Pretty little eyes and a pretty little nose. Lord, I love the way she loves me, and it shows. Honeysuckle wind, well, it's blowing through the breeze. Alabama girl, you're about to bring me to my knees. Oh, those all takes beauty sometimes gets Alabama girl, Alabama girl, brighter than a diamond, smoother than a pearl. Honeysuckle the wind, but it's blowing through the breeze. Alabama girl, you're about to bring me to my knees. Alabama girl, you're about to bring me to my knees.
All right, welcome back. We are Paradox Media, Coffee, and a Chat. Sleepy Dave. All right, we'll go along to the next. I did bring along 3 books today in the home studio. Kind of. Now this one, I think some of you may know the subject. Mind Control and UFOs, Casebook on Alternative 3 by Jim Keith. Specifically the chapter, The Depopulation Bomb. Now this book was written, let me go here, I think 1999. Was it 99? Yep, copyright 1999. We're going to party like it's 99. There is a solution, other than cyanide, to what the elite of the world consider excess population. Why not prevent the poor for the sake of argument? Let us venture a conservative 99% of the world's population from having children altogether. Or if that isn't possible, at least vastly slow their birth rates. Eugenics is a term coined in the latter part of the 19th century by Englishman Francis Galton to describe the science of bettering human stock and the elimination of unwanted characteristics and individuals. Galton proposed societal intervention for the furtherance of racial equality, maintaining that Jews are specialized for a parasitical existence upon other nations, and that except by sterilization I cannot yet see any way of checking the produce of the unfit who are allowed their liberty and are below the reach of moral control, unquote. A survey of eugenics and actions begins with the isolated incidents such as the sterilization of the mentally ill by American health officials in the late 1800s and the castration of children at the Pennsylvania Training School for the feeble-minded children in 1889. The movement quickly picked up momentum. Formally established as a study at the University College in London in 1904, the first laboratory for the study of the subject was constructed by Charles B. Davenport, no relation, at Cold Springs Harbor on Long Island, which, significantly, was also the location of the estates of both the Dulles brothers, as well as being current headquarters of the Human Genome Organization for DNA mapping. The institution was funded in excess of $11 million by the Harrimans and Rockefellers. Supported in America by members of the Eastern Establishment, eugenics was nurtured in the hotbeds of Round Table influenced philosophy at Harvard, Columbia, and Cornell. The subject was popularized in Germany by Ernst Haeckel, who liked romantic German nature mysticism and the unity of the Volk with clinical biopolicies later instituted by Hitler. Haeckel believed that there was no unity among the species of mankind since the morphological differences between the two generally recognized species, for example sheep and goats, are much less important than those between a Hottentot and a man of the Teutonic race. In the Aryans, Haeckel saw a symmetry of all parts, that equal development, which we call the type of perfect beauty. He also believed the woolly-haired peoples, incapable of a true inner culture or of a higher mental development, no woolly-haired nation has ever had important history, unquote. That's what that guy said, not me. Oh my gosh. I'm here. I'm so funny. You know what happened? You know what's funny? I am so apologize. See, this is what happened. I go talk, right? I come back. Thought I had the microphone on. Nope. You guys just missed a ton of good shit. Excuse my language. I'm gonna have to redo all that over again. Oh, I had a great intro. I mean, I was doing backflips. You missed it. I'm gonna have to do it all again. Sorry. I thought I was unmuted. Nope. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to take a drink because I just like went through over a bunch of information, and now I'm gonna have to say it all again. So welcome back. I'm sorry for that long silence of, I don't know, maybe that was a prayer session, you know. Forgive us, Jesus. Man, I'm serious. This nation's going to, I don't want to get into it. So, I want to get into another book written by Jim Keith. This came out in 1999. It's called Mind Control and UFOs, the Casebook on Alternative 3. Now, whoa, sorry, didn't mean to bang your head. You know, I might have to adjust the microphone. Give me a moment. Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, Jim Keith died September 7th, 1999. He fell from the stage at Burning Man Festival, and as the story goes, developed a blood clot and died. Well, I'm not going to get into his death. It was a little suspicious, to say the least. But in this book, think about what's going on. The depopulation bomb. Don't do it. Don't take it. You know what I'm talking about. It goes on. It says right here. It says there is a solution other than cyanide to what the elite of the world consider excess population. Why not prevent the poor for the sake of argument? Let us venture a conservative 99% of the world's population from having children altogether. Or if that is impossible, at least vastly slow their birth rates. Eugenics is a term coined in the latter part of the 19th century by Englishman Francis Galton to describe the science of bettering human stock and the elimination of unwanted characteristics and individuals. Galton proposed societal intervention for the furtherance of racial equality, maintaining that Jews are specialized for a parasitical existence upon other nations, and that except by sterilization I cannot yet see any way of checking the produce of the unfit who are allowed their liberty and are below the reach of moral control, unquote. A survey of eugenics and actions begins with isolated incidents, such as the sterilization of mentally ill by American health officials in the late 1800s, and the castration of children at the Pennsylvania Training School for Feeble-Minded Children in 1889. The movement quickly picked up momentum. Formally established as a study at University College in London in 1904, the first laboratory for the study of the subject was constructed by Charles B. Davenport, no relation, at Cold Springs Harbor on Long Island, which, significantly, was also the location of the estates of both the Dulles brothers, as well as the current headquarters of the Human Genome Organization for DNA mapping. The institution was funded in excess of $11 million by the Harrimans and who? The Rockefellers. Supported in America by members of the Eastern Establishment, eugenics was nurtured in the hotbeds of roundtable influence philosophy at Harvard, Columbia, and Cornell. The influence philosophy at Harvard and these other places, the subject was so popularized in Germany by Ernst Haeckel, whose subject was who linked romantic German nature mysticism and the unity of Volk with clinical biopolicies later instituted by Hitler. See, Haeckel believed, that there wasn't any unity among the species of mankind at all. He said that morphological differences between the two generally recognized species, for example, sheep and goats, are much less important than those between a Hottentot and a man of the Teutonic race. In the Aryans, Haeckel saw a symbol of all parts, and that equal development which we call the type of perfect human beauty. This freaking guy. He also believed the woolly-haired peoples incapable of a truer inner culture or a higher mental development. No woolly-haired nation has ever had important history, is what he said. Haeckel felt that the purpose of the nation-state was to enforce selective breeding, praising the practices of ancient Spartans who killed but all but perfectly and healthy and strong children, and thus were continually in excellent strength and vigor. In 1906, a group of Haeckel's academic followers formed the influential Monist League, agitating for a German government patterned along social Darwinian lines. By 1907, though, in America, specifically Indiana, had passed compulsory sterilization for the mentally ill and other undesirables. It doesn't go to define what classifies as undesirables. While 475 males received involuntary vasectomies at the Indiana State Reformatory. In 1912, the first International Congress of Eugenics was held in London, including its directors Winston Churchill, Alexander Graham Bell, Charles Eliot, President Emeritus of Harvard University, and David Starr Jordan, President of Stanford University. The National Conference on Race Betterment was convened in the United States in 1914, and by 1917 there were 15 American states with eugenics laws on the books, almost all of them legalizing the sterilization of habitual criminals, epileptics, the insane, and the mentally retarded. H. Laughlin, the expert eugenics agent of the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Immigration and Naturalization, presented a model eugenical sterilization law in 1922. This was to provide the basis for many state eugenic laws, as well as the eugenics laws in Nazi Germany. Do you believe this? You guys know about this particular history of this? It's been a long time since I read this part. Now you got you know who going out there wanting you guys to get jabbed with you know what, using everybody for guinea pigs. We're in the midst of WAR, silent weapons for quiet wars, right? Somebody even said in a live chat I saw on YouTube the other day, we're in World War IV. We're at that point where your neighbor's afraid of you. We're at that point, don't touch my phone, don't get close to me, put your mask back on. You want to kill, they got you thinking that you got your mask off, you're a killer. Remember they planted those seeds a few months back? Trying to tell people you don't wear their masks, they accuse them to a psychopath. Really? You gotta be kidding me. See, it's kind of like a twofold trap. They want a revolution so they can, like the problem, reaction, solution. They tell you the problem, they tell you how to react, and present you the solution. I wish I should bring up what Trump said at the United Nations last year, so you could hear it for yourselves. And then COVID happened. I'm going to try to find that because better to hear it out of his mouth than me trying to paraphrase it. But he was speaking at the United Nations. Let's see, Trump, United Nations, sorry. 2019, because he said it to him last year, and then COVID hit. He says it about 4 minutes into his speech. So, give me a minute. I apologize.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General,
3, 4.
your nation.
Hold on, let's see.
Wise leaders.
Here we go. Okay.
Large, magnificent planet. The truth is plain to see. If you want freedom, take pride in your country. If you want democracy, hold on to your sovereignty. And if you want peace, love your nation. Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations who protect their citizens, respect their neighbors, and honor the differences that make each country special and unique. It is why we in the United States have embarked on an exciting program of national renewal. In everything we do, we are focused on empowering the dreams and aspirations of our citizens.
I'm going to pause it here. Now think about what was going on before COVID hit. Remember he was imparting all that trade stuff on China, hurting their trade? Huh? Then he goes to the UN and says this? I mean, the whole speech is 36 minutes. I'm not going to sit here and let you hear 36 minutes. You can look for it if you like. It's on YouTube. It says, watch President Donald Trump's full address to the 2019 United Nations General Assembly. It's on NBC News. It's at the NBC News YouTube, right there. So he goes and he says this. He says that again. Should I play that part again when he talks about the globalists? Did you catch that? Yeah, I'll back it up.
Respect their neighbors and honor the differences that make each country special and unique. It is why we in the United States have embarked on an exciting program of national renewal. In everything we do, we are focused on empowering the dreams and aspirations of our citizens. Thanks to our pro-growth economic policies, our domestic unemployment...
I think I missed it. Yeah, you get it, but I'm not going to search for it again. You can hit replay. So he goes and he says that. I know I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants, but yeah, he was all that trade. People kind of forget, and then COVID hits, and then some other interesting stuff that I found while perusing that you may not have heard. Let me try to find some of this. Let me see here. Oh, anybody check out these pictures of these guys, these getting their shots, and some of the plungers are supposedly, like the one I saw, the cap wasn't even on. Oh wait, here we go. I think this is here. This is good. I found this. I think you ought to hear this. I think it's that important. So here we go.
Everyone's in on the Great Reset. Well, almost everyone. There's one guy who's got the power to do something to stop it, and you know exactly where I'm going. And they made a mistake. They tried to get Trump on their side, so they invited Donald Trump to Davos, I think a couple of times. But in January, when Donald Trump, I think, really began to see the beast that he was up against, he went to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, and he stuck a MAGA finger in their eye.
We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
2 days after Donald Trump gave that speech, the 89-year-old leftist weirdo billionaire George Soros made an emergency intervention where, at Davos, once again, warning that the U.S. 2020 election will determine the, quote, fate of the whole world. Now, in the context of Davos, take a look at this one more time. This is a month after Donald Trump addressed Davos and stuck the MAGA finger in their face. Here's what Francis, the Vatican, and Jeffrey Sachs had to say in response.
And it is a dangerous country right now. It will be absolutely dangerous if Trump wins re-election. Trump wins re-election. Trump wins re-election.
Francis invited this guy to the Amazon Synod as an honored guest and advisor. He's also Bernie Sanders' advisor. What's he doing in the Vatican? Why is this guy who's a promoter for socialist, out and out socialist, Bernie Sanders, what's he doing advising the Pope? Why does he have entree to the Vatican, friends? Sachs supports abortion and contraception, but that's not a problem for the Vatican. For the Vatican, for Pope Francis, and for his friends at the UN, Donald Trump is the problem, obviously, friends.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020.
Do you get it? Do you see why there's so much hate for Trump? Because with all of his faults, again, he's the capitalist. He's not the globalist. He never will be one of them, which is why he pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Donald Trump pulled the United States out of the World Health Organization. That's Bill Gates and company. And now he's threatening to pull the United States out of the World Trade Organization. People say, yeah, well, Donald Trump got married twice. He's a bad guy. Really? He's right in the face of the demons on this, friends. Nobody ever said he was a saint. He's knocking the sacred cows of the United Nations down all over the world right now.
The General Assembly routinely votes 185 against the United States on almost everything right now.
And you remember, speaking of the United Nations, in November of 2019, again, right before COVID landed, Trump went to the UN, on the floor of the General Assembly, and he declared war on globalism.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
And shortly after the speech at the UN, Donald Trump delivered, what do you think happened? The coronavirus was unleashed on the world, and Trump's booming U.S. economy went on life support. Do you think that was an accident? So when they tell all of us to stay home, wear your mask so grandma doesn't get sick, please understand what's really going on here. They don't care about your grandmother. They don't care about old people, these people. They don't care about babies. They want them aborted so that they can save the common home. Abort babies, millions of them all over the world. They don't care about babies. They don't care about old people. In fact, if you want to save your grandma, tell the globalists to stay the hell away from her. You remember how some of them, like Cuomo and characters like this, were running COVID recovering patients through nursing homes? That's how much they care about grandma. And the name of the game now is to bring the United States economy to its knees, get it out of the way, so that everyone will want the Great Reset. Make the new normal so intolerably abnormal that even you and I, maybe, at some point in the near future, will be begging for the vaccines, because we'll be driven crazy by that point. Begging for whatever else is going to keep us safe according to our jailers and our handlers and our zookeepers. You see? That's what they want. That's why they keep using this term, new normal. You know what we do to fight back? Go to work. Go back to school. If you're healthy, take off the mask. And for heaven's sake, go back to church and pray that Trump wins in November. That's what the reset was all about. That's what the Russia hoax was all about. That's what the impeachment hoax was all about. Don't you see? For 4 years, I've been trying to stop this man, because if he strengthens America, if he makes it great again, if he brings the economy back again, the reset won't happen. The New World Order is going to be set way back. Who knows when they're going to have another COVID opportunity like this one again, and they know it. So ask yourselves why they hate this man. These folks, these men, they hate God. They hate the unborn. They hate the traditional family. They hate you. And they hate Donald Trump, whose political opponents, by the way, right now are knocking statues of saints to the ground. They're beating up cops, and they're burning flags. You say you don't like Trump. I'm sorry, friends, but who cares? That doesn't really matter anymore. What you think of Trump's personality or his tweets? Look at the big picture. The choice is simple, friends. Stand with America right now, or fall with the New World Order in the not-so-distant future. There's no other choice. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV, and we'll see you next week.
Powerful deliverance. Sums it up pretty well. Think about all the madness. They've been attacking him since day one. I remember I joked when he became elected, when Donald Trump became elected, I said, that's it. We're living in a parallel universe now. Of course, I really don't believe that, but it was that way. And I saw it could go no other way, because the alternative, as we know, was Hillary. And I knew that then if she would have became president, their agenda would have been 4 years quicker. I don't know if COVID would have happened. I don't know what they would have done to seize control. And it came with a little bit of pre-programming in the reboot of the X-Files in 2015. The season finale video was they released a virus and it was killing people, and Scully was racing for to get the vaccine, and she was one of the immune, because she was told by the cigarette-smoking man that she was picked as one of the elite. And going back to the movie, Fight the Future, when she gets stung by the bee and passes out, I think he references that, and he says it was really to save her rather than to harm her. So then when the X-Files rebooted and came back, they totally disregarded that script line and went with 4 other new episodes, and then that was it for the X-Files reboot. So it was interesting. I remember seeing that. I was like, ooh. They had some guy in there spoofing a character of Alex Jones, the conspiracy research theorist guy. Yeah. That was 2015. What about the Last Man on Earth sitcom ran in America, about the last guy on Earth? Virus ravages America, or the whole world, rather. Finds out he's the last man standing, last man. Second season shows people wearing masks, hand sanitizer. What's going on now? Blah, 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 blah. Now they're planting seeds of a mutant virus strain in the United Kingdom, shutting down Christmas. Old Kris Kringle can't fly over your house and drop presents off. Nope, you gotta go through customs, quarantine it for 14 days. Then maybe, if you're lucky, they'll leave it outside your house and you can pick it up with some pixie sticks. Or some lawn grabbers, I don't know. Send the dog out to get it. There you go, Fido. We really are living in a science fiction reality, if you think about it. You ever think 2020 would be like this? I thought like 30 years ago, what would 2020 be like? I didn't think it'd be like lockdown, everybody's on house arrest. Everybody on house arrest. There should be a song, Everybody's on house arrest. Takes 5 hours to get your groceries in some parts. Let's see. Okay. So this is I'm not going to play the whole clip, but talking about the Great Reset. If there's any listener out there who thinks it's a bunch of bullpucky and horse manure, these are some words to some. You might recognize some voices here. Here you go.
I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world that will disappear in 2020.
What if I told you that Bill Gates, Greta Thunberg, Al Gore, George Soros, Prince Charles, and Cardinal Turkson We're meeting in the mountains to plot a global new order to be established on the back of the COVID pandemic. An outrageous movie plot? Or is it absolutely true? Donald Trump and the Davos connection, tonight from the editor's desk.
All right, well, we're not going to play that whole thing. I thought it was something else. I do apologize. Oh, here's a guy that goes off. Now, he makes a good point. Now, this cat is out of KTAR here in Phoenix, and he's talking about the mask issue. I think we're all sick of the mask.
I just got kicked out of another store. It's been a while since I did any kind of messaging on masks because, it just kind of gets overblown, but it's still a crazy world, and everybody is wearing masks except for me, and I went into a store that I haven't been into for a while. Well, actually, that's not true. I go into the store at least once or twice a week. It's like they were lying in wait for me. Had a couple of items in my basket, adult beverages, and all of a sudden, a nice lady came up to me and she said, "We changed our policies. We are now enforcing the mask rule." I said, "Oh, okay, that's cool." She said, "You can either wear this mask or you will have to leave the store right now." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Could you please tell me where your rye whiskey is? Your rye whiskey." She said, "It's right there, but you have to leave. I'll take your basket for you." I said, "No, you won't. You won't take my basket at all." Then I walked over and I grabbed the bottle of rye whiskey and I put it in the basket. She said, "You have to leave now, sir." "Yes, ma'am, I'm going to leave. I'm gonna go right up there to the front. I'm going to pay for my adult beverages. Then I will leave your store." So I went up to the front. Store was crowded. Everybody was socially distanced, waiting for their time to walk up there and pay for their products. I was deep back. Do you know that these people went up and opened up a new line, opened up a register just to usher me through so I could leave my COVID ancestors out of that store? Did you know that? I said, "Oh my goodness, this is wonderful service." And the guy said, "I just want you to know that we are enforcing our mask mandate now." I'm like, "Okay, well, what happened? What changed? When did you guys start doing that?" "We started doing it a week ago, right when things started to spike. They got serious, so now we have to wear the mask." "Oh, right when things started to spike." It's to the point now where I don't even argue the merits anymore. I don't even argue about how, getting your test has now become a case. I don't argue anymore about how, the masks don't really do anything. Even Dr. Fauci says that is more symbolism over substance. We had a new study come out. You can't talk to people. You can't talk to people. They are going to follow the dogma. They are going to enforce the mandate. Notice, not a law. I walked into a store last week and they said, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to mask up." It's the law. I was about to kind of respect them because I wasn't up for a fight. But when they said it's the law, no, it's not. So I just kept doing what I was doing. Nobody came over and bothered us or anything. We even talked to the owner of the store. They're like, "Hey, where you been hiding?" I didn't want to say we've been hiding because of the mask mandate, but where you been hiding? We had a nice conversation. She was wearing her mask. We weren't. I walked into a store, and one store said, "Mask optional. We just ask you to respect each other and love, peace, and harmony in our big 30,000 square foot warehouse." That was wonderful. That was refreshing. I almost teared up when I saw that. A shop owner with common sense, a shop owner just not trying to be, a health Nazi or follow the health Nazi mandates. But the world is changing. People are not suffering from COVID. People are not dying in masses over COVID. But our overlords, they're going to enforce this. They're going to make your life a living hell. You've got the pundits on MSNBC and CNN saying, "Cancel Christmas." Oh, there was supposed to be, the Thanksgiving spike. That was supposed to come down, 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. There's supposed to be tens of thousands of deaths. Didn't Joe Biden tell us over 200,000 people were going to be dead because of the way we celebrated Thanksgiving? Nothing. Now they're saying that even with the vaccine, the vaccination, you still are going to have to mask up. It's about control. I've had doctors on my show, The Conservative Circus, which can be heard on News Talk 550 KFYI, who have told me that you would be dooming yourself to take that vaccine I've had one doctor, Dr. Jane Orient, who said, her biggest concern is, the side effects of the vaccine. It could affect the placenta, and any young women who want to one day have children should think very seriously before they take this vaccine. And then the doctor said on my show, The Conservative Circus, which can be heard on News Talk 550 KFYI, that why would you need to take a vaccine in the first place when the recovery rate is 99.8%? The recovery rate is 99.8%, yet we have people walking around in masks everywhere. Look at this cat, yeah. Masks. I won't do it. I can't do it. I'm not a rube. Now it's just a thing. I can't do it. I can't do it. Maybe it's that, I don't know, maybe it's that American gene in me. Live free or die. Don't tread on me. Well, sir, we do have curbside pickup. Okay. Well, the next time I come in and get kicked out of the store, I'll have you bring it out to the curb. Because at the end of the day, the only way we win is if we push back against this bullshitty, and that's what it is. That's what it is. It's now to a point where you see a person not wearing a mask, you know that they're conservative. They have to be, because the rest of the world, the liberals, the Democrats, they're duped. I won't play the game. I can't play the game. I think we should all be praying for each other, because it's going to get worse before it ever gets better. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just got kicked out of the store. For not wearing a mask. Gonna bring me that little blue piece of toilet paper talking about put this over my face. No, I'm not gonna do it. Oh, maybe I should use a do-rag or something like that. Oh, it doesn't matter, sir, just as long as your face is covered. You know what I might do is I might get $100 bill and get those little clips and clip it on each side so that my nose and my mouth are covered with that $100 bill. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go to the bank and get myself a crisp $100 bill and just get some clips and put it on there. That'll be my shield. Oh, you want me to spend this money in your store? What? I'm gonna have to take it off. I'm gonna have to take it off to buy it. You gonna be okay? You gonna be safe from the COVID if I take out this piece of paper from my nose? The world has gone crazy. But I am still saying, even if everybody else goes crazy, I will be sane. Pray for this country. Continue to pray for the president. I'll get on and talk to you about that situation a little bit later. But don't despair. Don't despair. President Trump, he ain't no punk. That's all. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, cat out of Phoenix, saw that the other day. I was like, that's pretty good, And let's see. I just like going through these little alternative news clips that maybe we, don't always have time to surf the internet and find these little snippets of information. So I'll conglomerate it here for you while I have it. Well, oh my gosh, it's double vision here.
I got a text today from a business friend in Michigan.
Oh, this is nuts.
I'm not going to give names. I'll protect confidentiality. And he just passed on to me what was said to him this afternoon. This is today, in the afternoon. He received a UPS delivery, and...
Before I go on, this was reported December 20th, 2 days ago.
The UPS driver...
from True News.
Was female, and a regular driver to his business. And the driver said that her son had been in the Marine Corps, and that today he was ordered to report to duty in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yes.
And when he got to the reporting station, he called his mother and said, the building in the parking lot is full of men who've been activated.
Frenzy of activity.
Okay, so that's a phone call. That was a text I received today from a business friend in Michigan. And this is something he heard directly from the mother of this soldier. Now, what's going on in Michigan? I don't know. But I will tell you this. I called a friend who was involved in the Trump campaign at a fairly high level to tell him about that message. And before I could tell him the message,
He had a message for you.
he had a message for me, and the two messages went dovetail. And he interrupted me. I called him. I said, "Hey, I got to tell you something." He goes, "Wait a minute. Let me tell you this." He goes, "I was just told that President Trump is going to declare limited martial law in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. And I think he also said Arizona." And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Troops are going to seize the election offices," and he wasn't sure if what he was told was whether military troops are going to oversee a recount or a revote. And he wasn't sure on that, because I pressed him on that. I said, "You talking about a recount of the existing votes or a revote?" And he said, "I'm not real sure." He just said they're going to recount the election. Okay. So then I told him, I said, "Well, look, I just got a text message from a friend in Michigan. The UPS driver just told him her son was activated today in Michigan. And when he got to the station, it was full of guys that had been activated." Now you put that together with the hacking and all of the war council that you talked about, the electric grid. You put all this together, and the generators in Washington, D.C., the reports that the White House is the personnel has been cleared out. You put all this together, and it starts to look like something big is coming down, right?
Right.
Something big. I don't know. A few months ago, did some programs on prophecy, prophetic dreams, that sort of thing. And Pastor Dana Coverstone had a few dreams, more coming to America. You could look him up on YouTube. I think after the break, we'll go into a segment from, I think it was 60 Minutes, done in the 70s. About the swine flu vaccine. And we'll listen to the news of 43 years ago or so, and you must ask yourself, has it changed really? The propaganda. I think the reporting was a heck of a lot better, to be honest. We should just go into that segment now, because it'll take us into about a little after 30 minutes. But it's pretty telling. So, here we go. Thought I had the audio set. No.
Remember the swine flu scare of 1976? That was the year the U.S. government told us all that swine flu could turn out to be a killer that could spread across the nation. And Washington decided that every man, woman, and child in the nation should get a shot to prevent a nationwide outbreak, a pandemic. Well, 46 million of us obediently took the shot. And now 4,000 Americans are claiming damages from Uncle Sam amounting to $3.5 billion because of what happened when they took that shot. By far the greatest number of the claims, 2/3 of them, are for neurological damage or even death, allegedly triggered by the flu shot. We pick up the story back in 1976 when the threat posed by the swine flu virus seemed very real indeed.
This virus was the cause of a pandemic in 1918 and 1919 that resulted in over half...
Did you hear that? Then what did they say for COVID? 1918, 1919. What did you just hear President Ford say? I'll rewind it.
Seemed very real indeed.
This virus was the cause of a pandemic in 1918 and 1919 that resulted in over 500,000 deaths in the United States as well as 20 million deaths around the world.
See how easy it is to...
Thus, the U.S. government's publicity machine was cranked into action to urge all America to protect itself against the swine flu menace.
Influenza is serious business. During major flu epidemics, millions of people are sick and thousands die. Well, this year you can get protection. The vaccines are safe, easy to take, and they can protect you against flu.
What are they saying now? Man, there was more research done on that vaccine probably than what's going on now.
So roll up your sleeve. Protect.
The slogan was, roll up your sleeve, America.
Protect yourself.
One of those who did roll up her sleeve was Judy Roberts. She was perfectly healthy, an active woman, when in November of 1976, she took her shot. 2 weeks later, she says, she began to feel a numbness starting up her legs.
I joked about it at that time. I said, I'll be numb to the knees by Friday if this keeps up. By the following week, I was totally paralyzed.
So completely paralyzed, in fact, that they had to operate on her to enable her to breathe. And for 6 months, Judy Roberts was a quadriplegic. The diagnosis? A neurological disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS for short. These neurological diseases are little understood. They affect people in different ways. As you can see in these home movies taken by a friend, Judy Roberts' paralysis confined her mostly to a wheelchair for over a year. But this disease can even kill. Indeed, there are 300 claims now pending from the families of GBS victims who died, allegedly as a result of the swine flu shot. In other GBS victims, the crippling effects diminish and all but disappear. But for Judy Roberts, progress back to good health has been painful and partial. Now, I noticed that your smile, Judy, is a little bit constricted.
Yes, it is.
Is it different from what it used to be?
Very different. I have a greatly decreased mobility in my lips. And I can't drink through a straw on the right-hand side. I can't blow out birthday candles. I don't whistle anymore, for which my husband is grateful.
It may be a little difficult for you to answer this question, but have you recovered as much as you are going to recover?
Yes, this is it.
So you will now have a legacy of braces on your legs for the rest of your life?
Yes, the weakness in my hands will stay, and the leg braces will stay.
So Judy Roberts and her husband have filed a claim against the U.S. government. They're asking $12 million, though they don't expect to get nearly that much. Judy, why did you take the flu shot?
I'd never taken any other flu shots, but I felt like this was going to be a major epidemic. And the only way to prevent a major epidemic of a really deadly variety of flu was for everybody to be immunized.
Where did this so-called deadly variety of flu, where did it first hit back in 1976? It began right here at Fort Dix in New Jersey in January of that year when a number of recruits began to complain of respiratory ailments, something like the common cold. An Army doctor here sent samples of their throat cultures to the New Jersey Public Health Lab to find out just what kind of bug was going around here. One of those samples was from a Private David Lewis who had left his sickbed to go on a forced march. Private Lewis had collapsed on that march, and his sergeant had revived him by mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But the sergeant showed no signs of illness. A few days later, Private Lewis died.
If this disease is so potentially fatal that it's going to kill a young, healthy man, a middle-aged school teacher doesn't have a prayer.
The New Jersey lab identified most of those soldiers' throat cultures as the normal kind of flu virus going around that year, but they could not make out what kind of virus was in the culture from the dead soldier and from four others who were sick. So they sent those cultures to the Federal Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia, for further study. A few days later, they got the verdict, swine flu. But that much publicized outbreak of swine flu at Fort Dix involved only Private Lewis, who died, and those four other soldiers who recovered completely without the swine flu shot.
If I had known at that time that the boy had been in a sick bed, got up, went out on a forced march, and then collapsed and died, I would never have taken the shot.
The rationale for our recommendation was not on the basis of the death of a single individual, but it was on the basis that when we do see a change in the characteristics of the influenza virus, it is a massive public health problem in this country.
Dr. David Senser, then head of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, is now in private industry. He devised the swine flu program, and he pushed it. You began to give flu shots to the American people in October of 76. October 1st. By that time, how many cases of swine flu around the world had been reported?
There had been several reported, but none confirmed. There had been cases in...
you hear that? Several reported, none confirmed, and this guy goes ahead and shoots the American public with the swine flu vaccination.
Australia that were reported by the press, by the news media. There were cases in...
None confirmed. Did you ever uncover any other outbreaks of swine flu anywhere in the world?
No.
Now, nearly everyone was to receive the shot in a public health facility where a doctor might not be present. Therefore, it was up to the CDC to come up with some kind of official consent form, giving the public all the information it needed about the swine flu shot. This form stated that the swine flu vaccine had been tested. What it didn't say was that after those tests were completed, the scientists developed another vaccine, and that was the one given to most of the 46 million who took the shot. That vaccine was called X53A. Was X53A ever field tested?
I can't say. I would have to...
It wasn't.
I don't know.
Well, I would think that you're in charge of the program.
I would have to check the records. I haven't looked at this in some time.
The information form, the consent form, was also supposed to warn people about any risks of serious complications following the shot. But did it?
No, I had never heard of any reactions other than a sore arm, fever, this sort of thing.
Judy Roberts' husband, Gene, also took the shot.
Yes, I looked at that document. I signed it. Nothing on there said I was going to have a heart attack or I'd get Guillain-Barré, which I'd never heard of.
What if people from the government, from the Center for Disease Control, what if they had indeed known about it? What would be your feeling?
They should have told us.
Did anyone ever come to you and say, you know something, fellas? There's the possibility of neurological damage if you get into a mass immunization program?
No.
No one ever did?
No.
Do you know Michael Hatwick?
Yes.
Dr. Michael Hatwick directed the surveillance team for the swine flu program at the CDC. His job was to find out what possible complications could arise from taking the shot and to report his findings to those in charge. Did you know ahead of time, Dr. Hatwick, that there had been case reports of neurological disorders, neurological illness, apparently associated with the injection of influenza vaccine?
Absolutely.
You did?
Yes.
How'd you know that?
By review of the literature.
So you told your superiors, the men in charge of the swine flu immunization program, about the possibility of neurological disorders?
Absolutely.
What would you say if I told you that your superiors say that you never told them about the possibility of neurological complications?
That's nonsense. I can't believe that they would say that they did not know that there were neurological illnesses associated with influenza vaccination. That simply is not true. We did know that.
I've said that Dr. Hatwick has never told me of his feelings on this subject.
And he's lying.
I guess you would have to make that assumption.
Then why does this report from your own agency, dated July 1976, list neurological complications as a possibility?
I think the consensus of the scientific community was that the evidence relating neurologic disorders...
that was it for that segment. And that was 43 years ago, 42, something like that. I just, what happened to individual choice? Here's an interesting quote from, I think, one of the guys out of Australia. I don't know his name, but he says, It is a season we all want to be singing. I have to say, for the moment, it is probably one of the most dangerous exercises you can do, dancing and singing, he said. Are you kidding me? It's absolutely crazy, right? So, I thought I was going to... Oh, here's a nice little... We'll go back into this. You don't think we're in a communist takeover? Fascist. It's sad to say, it's hard to say. A lot of people don't want to see that. They look at Trump as the enemy. They're actually trying to gaslight the idea. But you heard him earlier. He wasn't, the future doesn't belong to globalists. We could sit here. That's what I like about Treason and New World Order, kind of going back to that book. There's tons of quotes in there from people, politicians and Senate leaders, or not leaders, but senators and congressmen and heads of state and businesses, billionaires and whatnot. All talk about it. Just like it's a normal subject. Anyways, we'll take a musical break and come back with something good to your head, man.
White horses in the purple sky, red mountains in the distance lie, calling me back, Arizona moon. Green cactus on an open plain, blue turquoise on a silver chain, calling me back, Arizona moon. The desert skies at night are something to behold, where Indians still keep a watch for their gold. White crosses where the settlers died, cold canyons where the saints reside, calling me back, Arizona moon. Skies at night are something to behold, where Indians still keep a watch for their gold. White horses in the purple sky, red mountains in the distance lie, calling me back, Arizona moon. White crosses where the settlers died, cold canyons where the angels ride, calling me back, Arizona moon. Calling me back, Arizona moon.
Alright, we're back. I did not realize how much of a serious lag on time. I'm like 2 minutes behind on stream. Did they slow it down? I do not know. I figured for the next subject, stretching it out a bit, I would talk about Jim Keith's other book, came out in 1999, Mass Control, Engineering Human Consciousness. I'm going to talk about a subject I rarely talk about because, to me, it is probably, if true, one of the most horrifying things to happen to a person, to be what the term is gang stalked. A term I have heard, targeted individual. And this goes into electronic weaponry. So Jim Keith asks, has it ever moved beyond the experimental stage and used on citizens? And he says, one man who believes that he has been irradiated with electronic beam weapons is Martin C. Mack. In an open letter, Mr. Mack describes his experience. I'm a former truck driver, now retired. My troubles with what I am about to recount began in the fall of 1987, when I rented a room in Seattle, Washington. The renter next to me had visitors who tried to avoid being seen by me. Comments were made about me describing my actions as if coming from his room. Somehow they were able to make me hear and also pick up on the process of my hear what I heard, as if my head, strange as it sounds, was a sort of antenna, and I picked things up, not subliminally, but audibly. They knew when I was coming and going and commented on such. While I was at the hotel, talk was heard about what I was doing. They could account for much of what I did in my room and in that building. They must have had some way of watching me, I thought. Statements to throw me off as to what they were doing were heard, such as, the Stinger will reach 35 feet, and there is a two-way mirror in the lobby. Let us test him, was heard. This was before I moved out, and afterward, he has a microphone in his throat. I do not have a material one there, of course. It was implied that they could pick up on what I voiced. All this seemed like an impossibility. Due to what had transpired over the years, I know these things as fact, regardless of what others may think. One night, my spine was made very warm. That region is thermal sensitive and part of the central nervous system. The reflex arc which passes through the spine was triggered and gave my body a jerk. They could heat sting my back shoulder blades. The bone coverings of those are pain sensitive. They decided to drive me out of there and did before the month was up. There is a way that a person can be made selectively receptive to a modulated radio frequency carrier, and that was resolved while I was there. Before leaving, I inquired as to how long the two previous... Hold on, I don't know who that is. Apologize. Who the two previous tenants stayed in that room. A month or two, the manager said. I was not hurt so very badly after they drove me out. Concerning the behavior and mind control, there is not much of a point in stimulating a person unless you can get a visual or audible response from the subject. They do get an audible one from me, a curse for one thing. How I think it is done, an unmodulated radio frequency carrier is set out from one location, preferably lower in frequency. It passes into the spine and head regions of the subject. The carrier is modulated by the electromagnetic nature of the hearing process, speech and inner speech of the victim. The fields of the processes piggyback onto the carrier. It thought that the unwanted fields are filtered out in arrival at the point of reception. If what is received by the offenders displease them, then a heartful stimuli is sent out on a carrier to cause pain to the subject, hence behavior and mind control. There is much more to it than that. All sorts of responses can be brought about in the body and head by modulation of radio frequency carrier with various frequencies of sound and energy, hearing and cranial pain, ear pain, and others. Yes, heart pain, torture, and death. They are able to resolve motion or the absence thereof. A very loud snap can be caused at the rear of the head. The sound modulation can be spiked and cause hurtful jolts of pain. Eye stinging and eye pains have been caused. The heat, pain, sting, torture is believed to be caused by vibrating the molecules and nerve endings in the thermal receptors. While in the process of thinking about what they were doing or reading, some people use inner speech or subvocalization. The trachea, i.e. windpipe, is piezoelectric and should act as a transducer. Subvocalization has been recorded directly off the throat by researchers. The indications have been long good that they can take off the electromagnetic field associated with inner speech. They have commented on that of which I inwardly voiced many times. The shoulder muscles can be made stiff and sore. Those of the neck also. The heart muscle can be made sore. I am monitored round the clock. Sleep deprivation is caused each night. The offenders needed a scapegoat to field test their equipment, and on with me they get a lot of practice. Equipment on and with me they get a lot of practice, unquote. So that was a letter that was written to Jim Keith that he included in his book. And he said it was going on since 87. Or maybe, it was in 87. He didn't specify, it kept going on. And there are other instances. Regina Cullen, a resident of the United Kingdom, also reports that she has been the victim of electronic assault. She feels that she was targeted for such harassment because of a complaint she made against local police in 1984. After numerous examples of more overt forms of harassment, including having her bicycle tires slashed, her car broken into, and being physically assaulted twice, she says, a new element of harassment appeared. My home was rendered uninhabitable by frequency assault. What I now know to be microwaves and or infrared sound were used to turn the room into a torture chamber. Cullen reports that she was harassed with irregularly pulsed humming sound, impossible to tell which direction it came from, seeming louder when one was lying down. It reverberated most in the area just behind the ear, the mastoid bone area, which is filled with air pockets, and caused my eyes to ache and my forehead to feel fuzzy and interfered with. The woman was forced to change residences repeatedly during the ensuing years. She says sometime, in outrage at being forced out of my home, I would return in the middle of the night to find complete peace and quiet. For 10 or 20 minutes later, the frequency of assault would begin again. At one location, she says, I believe the source of the assault was the flat above, unless microtechnology is hidden in one's own flat, for this took place on the 11th floor. There were no houses of comparable height nearby, and the flat above was inhabited by a building's caretaker. On the day this happened, there had been a man pretending to be asleep in a red car parked half onto the sidewalk in front of the building's entrance. I was instantly afraid of him, but warned myself not to be paranoid. 2 weeks later, as I was running suddenly for a bus and looking over my shoulder, I caught him ducking behind a van to avoid being seen following me, unquote. Cullen says that earlier, back at the bedsit, a single occupancy room, intuition had given me another clue to look out my spy hole, just as the hooligan was being handed a strange box with orange hemispherical plastic knobs on each corner by a trench-coated detective type who did not speak and took care not to creak the hallway doors. Not long after that, I saw him carrying in full view a small Christmas tree-shaped aerial, and he seemed upset that I had seen it. On one occasion, as Colin sat in her garden, something shot through my head with a strange fizz sound as it happened, seeming to come from behind the fence. I was terrified and could no longer sleep there anymore. A year or so later, sitting in front of the window with the curtains open, the same thing happened again, and the TV instantly turned to snow. The alignment that time of the invisible beam was such that it came from above and on the other side of the garden. From the very area where in 86 had appeared a momentary pencil-like beam of white light which was aimed at my bathroom window. Cullen describes two types of electronic assault. Symptoms of type 1 include bizarre feeling that the right and left halves of the brain are separating, with the cap in between, as if parts of the head were face are rearranged spatially, as in a cubist painting. There is an impression of slight puffiness in the face, a flattening of the nose, and definement of features. Type 2 symptoms include the feeling that I could hardly breathe and felt like I was in an oven. Each breath is like trying to inhale searing desert air, along with the usual headache and severe lassitude, sore, tired eyes, fatigue, hot burning skin, old scars throbbing, and overwhelming sense of oppression, evil, and helplessness, unquote. So that's some heavy stuff to come back from the break from. Woo. Yeah. So these cases have been ongoing for 20 years or more. And this is a subject I really don't dive into because it takes all the elements of like what Dr. Delgado and Jolly West and all these other fellers have, did. And now everything's pretty much wireless. It's a wireless society, right? Are you wired in, man? Unplug, dude. Have a coffee. Thank God the coffee's still real, right? Speaking of which, I think that about ends it. I think don't have any much more to say. I went through the three books I brought along today. Kind of touched on some things. And keep the glasses on, kids. That's what I got to say. Let me try to end this kind of fun-like here. Maybe we can limbo dance across the sensors. Trying to remember the particular scene from this movie. Give me a second, I do apologize. I'm trying to type around the microphone, it ain't quite working. Oh yeah, here we go. Remember, kids, we gotta wait 15 seconds because you can't hear this, but this is a scene from one of my favorite movies of all time. Roddy Piper stars with.
And you've always thought you couldn't bear press-on nails because of all the active things you do? Well, if you're ready for beautiful, natural-looking, easy-to-apply nails, pre-colored in 7 luscious hues, just...
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep.
Oh, goddamn hacker, that second damn night that asshole's cut in.
The movement was begun 8 months ago by a small group of scientists who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent through...
He's giving me a headache here. Tell me about it. It took the hackers months to figure out how to do this.
The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
They're pulling the water out of the sand like sponge. Blow it out your ass.
Thank you for listening to Coffee in the Chat with SleepyDave. Don't forget to tune into Tessa TNT over the weekend. Doc on Friday nights in my old time slot. Yes, and I'll be around on the mornings, I'm sure. Now that the holidays are here, I am staying in, not going anywhere. Not because of COVID, but finances, Always the finances. I would love to go on vacation. I really would. Maybe we could talk about that for a minute, something light, something fun. Where would you go on vacation? My mom's been to the United Kingdom a few times. I've been to Canada a bunch of times. Been to Germany, Mexico. Been on a cruise down in Ensenada. Oh, you want to talk about a wild time? I suggest a cruise. Seriously. Wow. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a day. Anyways, you guys have a great day, great night, great Christmas. We'll be talking at you tomorrow into the future as long as I have breath that God gives me. Thank you all, and to all a good night.